I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh, that's what the Giants did to the Philadelphia Eagles today. This is Tim, this is your Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Oh, it's just one of those days. Philly just didn't have, the starters were getting injured left and right. The Giants just played their game and took it at 27-10 over the Philadelphia Eagles to finish with 6 wins. The Giants get 6 wins. The Giants get 6 wins. Oh, this season. The season was a microcosm of interesting moves and so many different things. And it's just one of those things you kind of look at and go, thank God it's over. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean in that regard. It's just, you know what? It was a lost season. It is the second year technically in the rebuild. We will be going into year 3. I do consider that first year a rebuild because of the fact that we finished 6-2. They would only win 9 games. So we did have that playoff win, but you know what? It was everyone that knew football knew it was an aberration. And after another game with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback, he had a 300-yard game. He had his third 300-yard game, 2 in a row. They called that one play a sack, whatever it was. So it took him back down to 297. But it proves again that the quarterback play of the New York Giants has not been exemplary in years. And it's time to find a guy that can come in here and have some mobility, have some life, have some maneuverability, and be able to make the plays while looking downfield and find out what he needs to do to win. It's not Daniel Jones, because we've seen that for 5 years now. It's not going to be Tommy DeVito. It's going to have to probably be somebody in the draft. But, again, Tyrod Taylor is showing the way of the Giant quarterback. 23 of 33. 23 of 32 for 297, 9.3 yards, 1 touchdown. He had that bad interception. Also had 8 carries for 38 yards. You know, he got the team down the field, scores 27 points. It just shows the difference. And now again, I'm not going to go crazy about this because Philadelphia had in most of their first team, but a lot of their guys were out because vis-a-vis injury and they just didn't play. AJ Brown going down was a big thing. I mean, they are down to Quez Watkins, and Julio Jones. Julio down by the schoolyard. Who knew he was still in the league? But it was a win. I'm not worried what it's going to do to the draft stock because of the fact that you still have the opportunity to move up in the draft. I've said this a million times before. You are allowed. It's shocking that some fans don't understand this. You are actually allowed to trade up into the draft. It's okay. There's no there's no rule in the playbook that says you can't trade up in the draft if you want to go out and get a quarterback, if you want to find a guy. Like I said, it was nice to have the win. We don't get that. We didn't get many of them this year. The defense stepped up, played big time. There was a Kayvon Thibodeau sighting, I think. Oh, he did have 3 tackles and one pass defense. Kayvon Thibodeau. Oh my God. What is Carl Banks going to say now about Kayvon Thibodeau? And I'm not trying to be rude or mean about this, but what is he going to say now? You go back to, honestly, if you go back to the Green Bay game, he had 8 tackles. 7 of them were assists, only 1 solo. New Orleans, he had 1 tackle. Philly had no tackles. The Rams, he had 2 tackles. And he had 3 tackles today. So in the last 4 games, he's had 6 tackles. He hasn't had a sack or anything since, December 11th, where he had a half a sack. We've talked about this before. Most of his sacks came in 4 games. And 2 of those sacks were against Seattle, where he had 1 at the beginning of the game and 1 at the very end of the game. We're just pointing that out there, guys. It's also going to be interesting to see who the Giants bring back and move forward. This is probably the last game in the Giant uniforms for Sterling Shepard. So you got to give Sterling all the credit in the world. He was a good Giant, but this whole force feeding him the ball had us not turnover on downs, but had us kick a field goal because of that. And then also we threw the interception trying to force feed Sterling Shepard the ball. This isn't high school. I understand you want him to go out with a touchdown. And like I said, he's had an 8-year career with the Giants. I think Sterling Shepard's a great guy. but he's only got 4,000 yards total receiving in 8 years and 20 something touchdowns. It's not like OBJ. You were trying to get OBJ that final touchdown off a 10,000 yard career. It's not like that. He was a good Giant. He was a good soldier, but this whole force feeding him the ball, maybe it's just me being old and crotchety, but it's an organization celebrating mediocrity. And I'm not saying that Sterling Shepard had a mediocre career. He had an average career. He had 4,000 yards in 8 seasons. It's not like we're sitting there with a guy that had 6,000 yard seasons, with 10 touchdowns apiece. This is a guy who most touchdowns came in his early part of his career. We had 8 that first season. I believe he never went over 700 yards. So he had a good career. He was a good Giant, but this whole thing that we're trying to make him out to be something that he wasn't, because like I said, it's just celebrating mediocrity. That's all it is. We have to get ready to get into this, next year. We got to get into this season. I'm happy we won the game. I'm not going to worry about the draft pick, because Shane's going to have to do what he needs to do to fix this team, because there's a lot to fix. The good news is we're going to have a lot of content going over the next couple of weeks, because I got a lot to talk about. But right now, celebrate the win. Celebrate the 6-11 team, because of the fact that we're going to blow it up again next year. It's going to be part 3 of the 3-year rebuild. And I'm excited that this is going to end. And I'm excited that we're going to go into 2024 with hopefully a new direction. And as always, this is Tim. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell, because you want to know why. That'd be awesome.